Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility. Today we've got Jonna Weber, and she has pretty cool stories. She's an entrepreneur, been in real estate for over 20 years. She is the founder of the Idaho Real Estate Network. You should go check that out. And then she's also a podcast host, Go Podcasts, and your
Yes,
podcast is Real Estate Investing for Life. Is that the right
that's
title?
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
sometimes I get all
It's
mixed up.
had a few iterations, but that's the name currently.
Okay, might change, subject to change potentially, huh? And
Always.
and then you're also into fitness, which is cool. I've been trying to do a little bit more of that myself. So she has got the greatest story, and I'm excited for her to dive in and share all these aspects because she's seen ups and downs, both for business owners, investors, real estate, that whole world. And so many small business owners are looking to figure out what do I do with my extra cash when I've got it? And she's got the solution. So if you have extra money, tune in and pay attention.
All right. Sounds good, Jason.
So
Thank
tell
you.
us all about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for again for the opportunity. I just love getting to know you and your audience and what all you're doing. I am in Boise, Idaho, as I know we share that in common. I've been in some way involved in the real estate industry for, like you mentioned, over 20 years. Husband and I marched down to a title company and bought our first investment property back in 2003. So that was even
Wow.
before the big run up that we had here and before the Great Recession. And I would say I called myself, truly an investor and got serious about it when we were having that great recession that those of us that are old enough remember when real estate was definitely on sale.
Yeah.
And I had a kind of an epiphany back in that time. My husband and I were living paycheck to paycheck, and it was a very tough time in the economy. And he was in a corporation, still is at this time. And things got pretty scary. And we realized we may not have such a steady opportunity to have income in our household. And at the time, we had a rental property that was $800 negative in cash flow. Long story short, we flipped that opportunity on its head and sold that and started buying rental properties in earnest. And that's where the journey started.
Wow. Now, 2003, real estate market in the Boise Valley, it didn't have the run up we've seen, but it was still at a booming point in '03, as I recall. It
It
wasn't a
was,
flat
yeah.
market or
We
anything.
did buy some properties from '03 to '06, and
Hmm.
then a couple in '07, and then yeah, then the crash came. We really were investing at the very beginning of our married lives and really didn't know what we were doing.
Mm.
And then got serious during that recession period about, oh gosh, we need some multiple streams of income. So
Yeah.
that's a long way to say that's what really got me involved in the real estate industry. Wound up getting my license as a real estate agent around that time and worked very hard for about 12 years as a real estate agent, team leader. Along that way, talking about the small business front, my husband and I bought a restaurant and commercial property
Oh,
during
wow.
that time and managed from afar a restaurant for about, oh gosh, 6, 7, 8 years here in
Wow.
the Valley and weathered the ups and downs of owning a small business, specifically a restaurant, when when COVID hit. And that was not fun. So we could go down all the small business stories, but
Yeah.
fast forward today and what I do and what my passion really is two things. I run the Idaho Real Estate Investor Network, and that is a network of hundreds of people here in the state of Idaho that come together, experienced investors, brand new people just looking to understand how real estate investing works. We put them together and we have great events every month of the year and collaborate and do deals together.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So you're
And
bringing a bunch of like-minded people together and letting them just go loose and see what good things come of it, it sounds like.
yeah, I mean, it's great. We've got a cross section. So we've got really experienced investors, many of which are also business owners that are really pouring into newer people. And we want people to learn from our mistakes. Like, you don't have to go through all the pain and misery that some of us did with real estate investing. There's much smarter ways to invest and to do things and systemize things and create less headaches. So that's a big piece of it. And yes, we are creating a container to have those people mix and mingle and connect and learn from one another. And it's really been a passion project and one that has over the last year really grown and it's so fun to see the incredible people in our state and get to know their passions and their strategic missions that they're on to make a success and wealth for their own families.
I love that. And what's so cool to me is even though it's real estate investing, it's still a business.
Yeah.
It's completely a business. As a business owner, you're providing a service to people. You're letting them come live in a home or a building or maybe it's a commercial real estate deal or something, and you have someone coming and using that space, and in return, they're providing cash back to you. So very much still a business, and you've got all the same business headaches that a business has. It's just a very specific model that investors follow to generate cash, right?
Absolutely. And I think if someone is involved in active real estate investing, it is absolutely a business. Even a rental property, it's a business in a box. You've got
Yeah.
to have the systems and processes in place, and you've got to monitor cash flow. It's really a lot of the same objectives. In fact, it's funny, we've actually had some business related seminars and workshops within our group. We've got a great guy in our group, Max Reich. Shout out to Max, who is an EOS implementer. And you're probably familiar with EOS, but it's putting those systems and processes in place. And I had a great workshop at my own house with about 20 of our members, really learning how to dial in those systems to create a profitable business,
Yeah,
even if that business is investing in real estate.
right. So I love the fact that you mentioned early on you had one that was net 800 a month. And there's been a lot of business
Negative.
owners, right? Yeah, net negative. Thank you. 800 a month. There's a lot of business owners that get in that same position, whether it's their business is renting or something else, and you have to change. Like you can't just keep going negative. The only one that can do that's the government because they just print more, right, and hand it out.
Amen.
But for
Yeah.
any of us normal people, we have to figure out a way to be profitable. So I love how you tell that you pivoted. So tell a little bit more, like how did you make that decision of how to pivot in that moment?
Wasn't easy. And I think that's another thing that's very similar to if you have a business that isn't working, you don't want to give it up, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, if I just do one more thing, or if I make this change, or if I raise the rent a little bit, or if I massage the numbers, we're going to make it work. And it was an emotional thing because this particular property had been a home that we had built ourselves,
Oh,
had been
wow.
our family home, and for a bunch of circumstances, we moved away from it. And so it was not an easy thing to let go, especially when we knew we were like at the bottom of the market.
Yeah.
And so we knew it's just kind of like when you hold on to stock that keeps going down, down, down. You're like, oh, I should have sold. That's what the position that we were in. And so that was another reason we held on for probably a couple years too long to that
Mm.
property. But once we realized that like we could have no income in our family, like 800 negative cash flow just didn't work. So we got to that painful point where we're like, we have to make a hard decision. And there was I started doing research online about really how real estate investing really works. And I
Hmm.
realized you're supposed to have positive cash flow. And, and
The
that was
little
a
details, right?
Exactly. So we made that decision, sold at the like literally the year that we sold was the lowest in the history of pricing for Idaho. It was 2011.
Oh,
What we were
man.
able to do is we were able to pivot that. We had a little bit of equity there, and we were able to pivot it into two positive cash flow properties that we bought on short sale and foreclosure at the time. And I don't even want to mention how cheap they were because things were in such sale at that time. But it was pivotal. It just changed. It literally changes from 800 negative to 800 positive in our
Wow.
bottom line. And that was like, oh, there's opportunity here.
Yeah.
So that built the faith and we continued to grow our portfolio from there.
Wow. Yeah,
It
that
was, it was
2011
emotional.
was terrible for real estate prices, but for people buying, it was a great opportunity. Everything was on sale.
Yeah, it was. But, I just encourage folks to just like, whether it's a business or an investment, you have to stay true to your numbers and look at those things and make the decisions based on that. Because if it would have been just emotion, we'd probably still be in that position today.
Mm, wow. Yeah, driving straight on emotion, That's a good message for people that and I think we all get stuck in it because of business or whatever it is. We do get emotionally attached to it, and it's almost like another child, and we're like, "Oh, I can't let this go." And well, but wait, there's this, and I've had so many terrible times with this, or so many good times with this. I can't emotionally disconnect. And as soon as we
Yeah.
do, I bet that felt so freeing. You're like, "Wait a minute. That's a net $1,600 difference." Like the changes that happen in life at $1,600 is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Great points.
So I'm curious now how like those learning experiences so good because we all have to figure things out, and if we don't have a mentor, then we go through the bumps like you were talking about going through. But how is it now that the Idaho Real Estate Network does it save people from those kinds of mistakes, or how like what's the relationship in that sense?
If they take advantage of it and reach out,
Hmm.
absolutely. And this grew out of my experience. We talk about how I made this change and started learning about real estate investing. One of
Hmm.
the most pivotal things in my professional life and investing life was I took time and money out in 2012, right after that all happened, and went to a real estate conference,
Okay.
investing conference. It was in Denver, Colorado. It was, I don't know if you're familiar with Bigger Pockets,
Okay.
and they are, it was their very first summit that they had.
Oh
And
wow.
Bigger Pockets is a huge community for real estate investors. And I didn't have any business going. We didn't have business structures put together. I was teaching elementary school at the
Okay.
time. We were not considering ourselves like real estate investors or business owners at that time. But I just had this little inkling, like, what if I flew down to Denver and went to this conference? And that was so transformative in a number of ways. But part of it was getting in the room with 300 other people. This wasn't a big guru course. This was
Yeah.
like real people standing up on stage saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what works. And that collaboration, it sparked belief in me that it could be real. And I got really actionable steps there that took me forward and got me pumped up to come back to Boise and get serious about it. So when I came back to that from that, I started meetups here in Idaho for real estate investors
Oh cool.
and started that community. Our very first one had 5 people at it back in 2014. And
Hmm.
that's just grown from here. But it came out of um, that conference that was just really pivotal for me. And ever since then, I guess I've been trying to give back that feeling to others. And if people just need to be vulnerable and talk about and ask the questions that people think are dumb, but there's no dumb questions.
And there's something magical about going to an event in person that I don't think that we found a way to replicate by watching the replays afterwards or doing a Zoom call. It's just not quite the same. I was at an event recently and he said, the environment I'm in will change me faster than my willpower ever could.
Mm,
And so a group like yours just getting together and being around those people, it's going to shift anybody that walks in there. They're bound to shift, whether they know it or want it or don't want. It's going to happen just because they're in that room with those people, and those people are thinking different, talking different, the energy's different, everything's different, and we as humans adapt to that. So I think that's so cool because you're giving a place for that transformation to happen, which is amazing.
oh, thank you. I love that. We are on the same page there. Absolutely.
And I love how you started out with just normal grassroots too. Like, how hard is it for people? It's mostly in their head to start something like that, right? I
Yeah.
talk about that because I'm sure a meetup is a little scary to set up the first time.
Yeah, it is. And I think I have one person that's still involved in our group today that was at that first one. So I
Mhm.
always shout him out because it's really cool that he's just been consistent during this time. But it is, you are putting yourself out there and you're vulnerable. And I think if someone's out there and they're like want to start something, but they're nervous about it, I think the biggest thing that helped me and would help someone is to not make it about you.
Mm,
Like, who can I learn about today? And who
sure.
can I connect with? And don't start with, what's in it for me as the meetup leader. You have
Okay.
to think that way.
Mhm.
Ultimately, you got to ultimately, make sure that it's a win-win. You're using your time wisely. But I think we've all read the books, right, on how to make friends and influence people, but the more you ask questions of them and show interest in them, the more they're going to love it. They're going to come back because they're like, this was cool. I got to talk about myself, you know? And
For
so in a
sure.
way, I've been able to show like take that and just amplify it because it's not usually me speaking in front of every event. It's I bring these great people in that I just want people to get to know,
Right.
and it's a win-win because they get to get in front of people and create their own platform too. So,
Exactly.
a lot of fun.
So I'd love it if you'd speak about the idea of networking as well, because you've really created a network for people
Mhm.
to come in and collaborate. So what have you seen come from that? How's that work and how do you see people be successful in that network space?
Well, just in an informal, I probably need to do a better time of tracking everything, but just in day-to-day conversations, the number of deals that people have done together, the number of business transactions that have happened have been very, very cool to see.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we offer our members is we've got a member directory, and we've got our private Facebook group and so forth, and our portal so that beyond just the meetups, like if they didn't get across the room to talk to somebody, they've got those group of people that they can intentionally connect with. So even though I only hold one big in-person meeting a month, there are all kinds of little informal meetups, gatherings, coffees, Zoom calls happening across the state and even outside of the state. We have members outside of the area. I was on a phone call yesterday, a Zoom call with someone that participates and follows virtually from England.
Oh, wow.
Because a lot of people from out of area invest in the state of Idaho and they're interested in that too. So there's all kinds of little sidebars happening throughout the month and friendships forming. Even those early conversations in our early meetup days, I remember one of the biggest joys I get is when you see that people actually become friends.
Hmm.
You hear stories of people going camping together with their families. And they start because they come to a meetup and they have something in common,
Hmm.
and friendships naturally form out of that.
Wow. That is so cool. So what would be some advice that you'd give someone who's sitting on the sideline and telling themselves maybe they're saying, "Oh, I'm not sure if I've got enough money. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. I'm not sure." What kind of advice would you give to someone who's sitting there interested but not taking action?
Interested in participating or starting something?
Participating.
Yeah. I think we all have a little imposter syndrome where we can have those thoughts. And um, just like we talked about, like not make it about you, I think it's really you take that same concept and you go in and think, who can I make feel good tonight?
Mm.
Who can I pour into? Because I think once you take that pressure off yourself, like, oh, what are people going to know about me and think about me and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
I promise you, they are going to love you if you just ask them questions and focus on them. And
Mm.
that's all you have to worry about. And that's something that we've actually brought in someone last year to talk about this intentional conversations and how
Hmm.
to navigate that because I get it. Small talk can be funky. And so I like to think at most of our events we do a mix of it. So it's teaching and it's also that connection time, and we facilitate different ways that they can have those conversations. And we've got great folks that have been involved since the beginning, and that's what they love to do. They want to make sure that everyone that walks in that door feels welcome and has someone intentionally to talk to. And if you're not sure where to go, just show up at an event and say, this is what I do. Who should I talk to today? And somebody's going to jump in and help you make that intentional connection when you get there.
That's something that's so amazing to me is we can we can be in a room and not know who does what, and then you make one connection and life just changes and you never know how it's going to happen. I know I was at Vid Summit, which is a conference for content creators, and I just sit down in the front row and they announced that the next presenter is going to be late because of some technical things. And so I just start talking to this guy, no idea who he is. Turns out he has about a 250,000 subscribers, and he was looking for a specific person. and was having some issues. And I happened to be friends with the specific person that he needed to meet. I was like, you got to meet this, was able to make that introduction. It never will help me, but I just helped two individuals because I just sat down and we started to talk. And that's what I think the opportunity of being in a room like that, you just never know who's going to be able to do that for you as well, right?
Right. Here's it's so good. And the one tip that I heard recently on a podcast, transparently, and I thought it was really good. It was on Nathan Barry's podcast,
Mm.
founder of Kit, and someone was talking about their intentionally, if you're going to a conference or an event, scope out who's going to be there first. And so in something like Idaho, you could scope out, you join and you scope out the membership and like who these people are.
Oh
You
yeah.
look them up. Everybody's pictures are all over social, right? So
Mhm.
you find out what those folks look like. It sounds a little stocky, right? But you get a sense of that so that if you have a limited time in a room and you only have time to connect personally with three, four people, use it wisely because you do want to make sure that your time is worthwhile and you don't want to get stuck talking to just one person the whole time who may not have anything in common with you, which is great, to be friendly, but you're there for a reason too. So be intentional and kind of have a pre-game
Yeah.
on how you're going to make the best use of your time.
I love that. Yeah, I know I've been trapped a few times in the past, and someone gave me a word of advice is if you ever get trapped and they just keep talking and talking, you finally can say something like, "Well, who are you trying to meet here today?"
Oh, I like that.
And then now you're facilitating them achieving their goals, and you're able to end the conversation if it's one that's not not really
Right.
helpful for
Yeah.
anybody. Yeah,
On a, on the same podcast I heard with Nathan, they said you don't want to be the one that's the lagger that like just keeps on and on, even though the conversation has naturally come to an end.
exactly. So if somebody's thinking of buying their first property, what advice would you give for someone like that?
Oh, great question. The biggest thing that I would say is you need to take a step back and not do that yet,
Oh.
because that may not be the right move for you. And what part of my passion and when I do some consulting and coaching for high income earners and business owners that want to figure out their next strategy related to real estate investing. But I don't want them to do anything until we've sat down and figured out their goals and their
Mhm.
strategy, what their financial picture looks like, and what's going to work for them to match their goals. Because it may not be a traditional rental. It may be investing in a fund or a syndication or a commercial, or there's a myriad of different ways to go about that aren't just, black and white in real estate. But we need to get to the core of why they're doing it, what they need. Do they need immediate cash flow? Are they just buying for appreciation, for retirement down the road? What does that look like? And then let's jump into the strategy that works and learn everything you can about it and take action.
I love it. And this journey, you've been on it for a few years now. It's not something fresh for you. So you've seen all these ups and downs and good deals, bad deals. What has this persistence done for you personally in your life that now you could do that you couldn't do before?
Well, two things that come to my mind just top of head. First, this thing that's come out of this that I never really expected is I have learned
Hmm.
so much about different real estate acquisition methods and creative financing and different ways of investing with higher returns that I ever thought possible. There's so much out there. And I was just pretty straightforward buy and hold girl for many years.
Okay.
And so my education has grown exponentially. So that's been a um, unexpected like perk of it. And then what was this? What was the there was something else. Can you repeat the question, Jason?
Well, and actually we were
Yeah.
talking right before the
Yeah.
show and you in passing mentioned what was one of the benefits, but I don't even know if you realized it, but you mentioned how you're going to these fitness classes every day right now. And if you were still teaching school, I don't think that could probably happen, right?
Oh, I'm unemployable. I am telling you because that's a whole other story. But yes, I did try. I've been fairly entrepreneurial my whole life, but I did have a short stint teaching school,
Mhm.
and which I love those kids. But what I did not love is not being able to get out of those four walls and needing to get a substitute anytime I needed to do that, even to go see my own kids' band concerts at the time in their old schools, those kind of
Yeah.
things. So no, I could not be doing daytime fitness classes.
Right. Yeah. So just the flexibility and the freedom that it's given you. But I love the first thing that you shared. The benefit was what you've gained in knowledge and experience and wisdom. And I think not enough people give that the credit in life, because when it's all said and done and we're gone, we're not going to take what we had with us, but we're going to probably take what we've learned with us, but we've also going to lift the world to a higher plane if we've been sharing. So I love the idea. You've got the network, you're sharing your wisdom, you've got the podcast, and then you're just making the world a better place by doing all these deals and helping the world to grow. So I think there's a ton of benefit I see the world's received from what you're doing. So thank you for that.
Well, Jason, I appreciate that. We're just getting started.
So what is the future?
The future, I'm going through a transition period right now. Last month, at the time of this recording, December 2025, I closed down my real estate team. And so I am no longer actively pursuing new real estate sales. So I am delving into really helping investors at every level that I can. One of the things that I see as a trend in our industry right now is there's a lot of people selling a lot of things to new real estate investors. And
Mhm.
many people come to our community after having invested very heavily in high ticket courses and training. And sometimes they're more confused than ever because they have delved into this deep path in a strategy that really doesn't align with what those goals are. And so the more I can get the word out and catch people to give them that foundation before they do that, the better off and the more positive experience they're going to have. And their checkbook is going to thank them too. So that's part of why I need to grow this and reach more people and make sure that they've got that strong foundation under them and make good choices.
Gotcha. And so really it's not just an Idaho thing. I mean, the
Right.
network is the Idaho Real Estate
Yeah.
Network, but it's not really an Idaho thing, it sounds like.
True. Yeah, absolutely. I think the concepts and principles and opportunities, are consistent certainly throughout U.S.
Hmm.
That said, I did have a call with the woman from England yesterday, so that was really fun because again, she's got investments here, and so it's not an Idaho thing at all. And it's been fun as my little podcast grows, watching the points around the world where people are listening in from, and I just want to help people. And it's been eye-opening that a lot of business owners and high income earners, they're so skilled at what they do and that precision of how they run their business. That's why they're successful.
Hmm.
But from the personal investing standpoint, they haven't been able to focus on that and spend the time needed to really put the foundation in place so that they've got great, a great retirement setup and a great foundation for multiple income streams.
Gotcha. So how did you decide to start a podcast?
Just a little inkling, like,
Mhm.
oh, I think that would be fun. It's a medium that I really enjoy. And the first season we did it, we actually had another couple of great guys that are here in Boise, and they were kind of the face of it. And I helped, and we did a little marketing for Idaho Reen in the back end. And then a year or so ago, I decided, I better step up and become the host and really take a hold of this thing. And we've had multiple iterations, but um, it's it's been fun. I love the opportunity to give people a container where they can just get to know you a little bit more and
Mm.
understand. And I think that's hard to communicate in a 30-second short.
Yeah, for sure. So what have you learned from running a podcast?
Well, I've learned that things are always changing in podcasting, right? And all of the trends and so forth. And
Hmm.
so, one thing that I've learned is bringing amazing guests on.
Oh,
So I've
okay.
learned so much about, again, strengthening my own education
Hmm.
and interview skills, of course. But I've learned the power of consistency because you have to be consistent in doing something like that and coming back to it week after week. And it's not always fun, as I'm sure you know, Jason, trying to make time for that when you're busy with the other pieces of your business. But I think it's a great medium.
For sure. Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of podcasts, or else I wouldn't have one.
Obviously, right?
So if somebody and whatever field they're in was thinking about starting a podcast, would you advise them to move in that direction or be cautious?
I would be a little cautious right now.
Uh-huh.
Things are changing really rapidly in the podcasting space. I'm for sure you've heard a lot, so much is going to YouTube and podcasts don't have quite the same natural reach as they did.
Hmm.
So it depends why you're doing it. And I think where I'd be cautious is when I started my podcast, I spent way too much money
Oh,
doing it
okay.
with fancy editing and all kinds of things. And really, I don't think there was return. I know there wasn't return there. So
Hmm.
I think could easily be a shiny object to someone if you're not really laser focused on who you're trying to reach and what the messaging is and what your hard costs are and making sure that you're starting to get an ROI from it.
Right. Absolutely. That is some great advice. And what's interesting to me in the podcasting world is people are looking more and more for authentic content because AI is coming in and generating all of this like I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
Just fake. It's all
right.
fake. It feels fake. It looks fake. It sounds fake. And people they're getting the overwhelm with fake. Like it used to be cool to see a little fake stuff, and now it's like, ah, can we just cut all that out and go back to real humans? So
Amen. I know you read the whole story on Facebook and then at the bottom, this content was generated by AI.
yeah, and I think that podcasting is a space where we can do that. And like the advice you gave of being cautious on spending too much, it can be fairly expensive to put one together, or it can be inexpensive depending on the approach.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with both YouTube and podcasting, most of the advice that I've just been really zeroed in on the last few months is just you know who your target is, your target audience, and you stay consistent with that messaging. So you don't share about everything under the sun. That's fun as like a personal diary or something, but
Mhm.
it's going to confuse the audience.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, it's good to have some boundaries so that people know what to expect when they come on. So if people wanted to connect with you, how would they go about doing that?
A couple different ways. They can find me at jonnaweber.com. It's JONNAWEBER.com. That will have kind of a thread to different ways to contact us. I'm
Mhm.
at Jonna Weber on all of the social media links. And then if you are in Idaho and interested in our networking community, it's idahoreen.com.
Perfect. And then where can people find your podcast?
On all listening platforms, whether
Okay.
that's, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, but it's Real Estate Investing for Life. And you can, I'm sure, find me by my name as well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that what the message you've got for the world is important and people need to be able to find you and start gathering that information because whether you work a normal W-2 job, whether you're self-employed, whether you're a business owner, at some point we have to cross into this realm of I want to have an income stream that doesn't rely on me waking up in the morning. And how do I do that? And I think what you're sharing with the world is that logical next step for a lot of people.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Yep. So thank you for coming on. And to our guests, thank you for listening. And be sure to reach out to Jonna and let her know what your questions are. So, and come follow her podcast, join her network, and start diving into that wonderful world of investing. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.